You have a quorum present.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, please.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Invocation.
Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a brief one, but it's I think hopefully a good message there. Let us pray. Almighty God, you are our creator and our sustainer. You are our light and our fortress. You are our wisdom and our strength. We ask for your guiding hand to lead us through this meeting. May we approach our tasks with wisdom, and may we approach those with different opinions and beliefs with respect. May our conduct create an environment of cooperation and kindness. Amen.
Thank you, Deacon Anderson. Thank you for those inspirational words today. Thank you. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Reading, correcting, and approval of the journal.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Baydun.
Move for approval. Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on the journal? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. Next item.
Report from the chair.
Okay, so as you all know, for the last couple of years, we've had the Tri-County Summit, and one of the issues that we've discussed is broadband. And as a result of the Tri-County Summit, Oakland County, Macomb, and Wayne County, we are going to embark upon a survey to just see where we are in our communities with broadband services. At this time, I would like to bring up David Schreiber to discuss what we're doing in Wayne County as far as our survey. And we look forward to hearing what the new information that's going to benefit our communities. But we do need each of your support as we go through this endeavor. So Mr. Schreiber, turn it over to you.
Much better. Thank you, Chair Bell. Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
To give you an update on where we stand with the broadband survey, as you said, this is a collaboration between Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne counties. In addition, what makes this really special is it's also a collaboration between the commission, with my partner here, Tim Johnson, and myself on the administrative side. So this makes it really a pretty cool activity. Why we're doing this study is that there is a real gap between the perception of broadband internet high-speed coverage in Wayne County and the other communities and the reality. The Merit Network, which is doing the study, has done this in this survey in other communities, and every community they've done it in, they've discovered a huge gap. Whereas the federal government thinks that there's 80% or more coverage in the communities, in reality, it's just the opposite. Oftentimes, it's as little as 20% full coverage. Why is this important to us? Because there's going to be a lot of federal and state grants available to communities, local communities, to build out their high-speed internet broadband coverage. In fact, in the next year's state budget, they're looking to budget $25 million, but they're only going to give it out to communities that can demonstrate that there's a need. So this is why it's so important for us to demonstrate that in Wayne County, there is definitely a need to build out the broadband infrastructure. We're doing this in a variety of ways, and this is where you can help us. and working with your communities, working with your constituents to get them to complete this 5-minute survey. They can do it by mail, they can do it online. Tim has been providing you with information on this, marketing materials. And Tim, maybe you can talk a little bit about the postcard that you put together.
Thank you, Dave. I've spoke to some of you about doing a mailing in your district to reach out to people, either through your regular newsletter, maybe a half-page, full-page advertisement or explanation of the survey, or doing a postcard that we would send to your community. The postcard has a UR code on it. If you scan it, it takes you right to the survey. Doing the survey is kind of neat. It kind of shows you what your high-speed internet level is at your home or work or wherever you're accessing it. So I know I have to reach a couple more commissioners this afternoon to talk about this. Did want to point out that this is only for the Wayne County communities, the 42 suburbs. Detroit has been doing their own digital equity research, and we didn't want to conflict with what they were doing out in their neighborhoods. That's a quick overview.
Right. So,
Commissioner Clark-Holman?
Saying that when this is enacted, Detroit won't be a part of it?
No, they definitely will be a part of the bigger thing with the federal dollars that are coming in. They're doing their own fact finding and research, and they're going to mount their own challenge to the FCC data as our Wayne County.
But you're saying that we don't have to survey Detroit. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. They've been doing themselves. Yep.
Our constituents, I mean, like I represent my district is all in Detroit. So those constituents won't be surveyed by the county.
No, they probably already have been through the city.
when this survey is done, every community in Wayne County will be covered with accurate information on the broadband coverage for that. If you're interested, there's going to be an open office hours that are going to be put on. Oops, excuse me 1 second. Office hours can be put on June 27th. It's at a Zoom meeting at 10 a.m. where you can get additional information, meet directly with the Merit Network folks who are doing the survey. The survey will go on all summer until we get to a level of responses that give us significant statistical verification. What will come out of the survey will not only be reports, maps that every local community will be able to use, as well as the county, to be able to see and where their broadband coverage is and is not, and either together with the county, together with the region, or on their own, apply for any state or federal grants. So once again, our call to you, and you'll be hearing from us, I'm sure, many times over the summer, is to help us get the information out, help us to get the residents to respond, because it's only going to be, the results are only going to be as good as the responses that we get. And no one likes to do surveys, so we really have to push. We will have things such as bookmarks that can be posted in local municipal offices, yard signs that could be put there, and we'll be asking the communities directly to do this also. So, thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Tim. Hold up for a few questions. But again, this is something that a tangible item that came out of the Tri-County Summit. And as was mentioned, there are millions of dollars in federal grants available. So working together, this is going to be so important for our region. Commissioner Clemente?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Couple questions. You said there's 3 ways they could do the survey: phone, mail, or QR code?
Two ways.
Oh, two ways.
Either online, which you could do with your phone or your computer, or by mail.
And are you, so I have Detroit and Out County. Are you contacting our locals so that they can get this this information about the Zoom meeting, or is that our responsibility to do?
Absolutely. By the end of the summer, they're going to be real annoyed with me because I'm going to be repeatedly sending out reminders to interact. I've recently twice been out to the Conference of Western Wayne meetings and made sure that they were aware of this. We're sending out information. The Merit Network is sending out information. I provided them with contacts with all the communities in Wayne County, multiple contacts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm understanding that each commissioner, those postcards or whatever will be mailed to about 15,000 houses in our district. How does that work? How are you picking? I mean, I'm hoping it's a spattering.
Yeah, it's going to be a kind of a random draw to try and get as broad of coverage across your district as possible.
Okay, and then it doesn't matter. Then we can just have additional people keep answering. But initially, it'll be about 15,000.
And this is supplementing what Merit is already going to be doing.
Okay,
They're doing a couple mailings themselves.
okay, to all the citizens or to a
So
smattering.
again, it's a sample.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And this is really going to take a lot of our support here, commissioners, to get this out because, as you know, we have direct contact with our constituents. So really talking about it at your meetings, having those mail outs and just really getting the word out to make sure that this gets out and we get the most accurate data that we can get. Commissioner Monique Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you send us a copy of what the postcard will look like?
Absolutely. Yep.
And Bradford is included in that?
Well, if you desire, the mailings that we're asking commissioners to do would come out of their budgets. I can get with you later to discuss further.
Commissioner Clark Coleman.
If Detroit is not being included in this, then what role will we play? The commissioners in Detroit, if we don't know what Detroit is or what the mayor or the city administration said.
What I've done is talk to my mayor's person, Mona Ali is my person, and talk to her about what they have already done. So we can just reiterate whatever messaging that the mayor's office or our city council people are putting out there. But then talk about it broadly that, the city has done theirs, we're doing ours in Wayne County, but we want a totality of all the information that we can get an accurate picture of what Wayne County looks like for broadband. So I would get with your neighborhood manager to see what messaging they're putting out. And just talk about it, just reemphasize with them, emphasize with them that this is something that the city of Detroit is doing. We want to make sure that all the residents of the city of Detroit do their part. And then if you have split communities like several of us, of you all do, then of course you would do the same thing. Go out to your out county communities, but then talk to your city of Detroit neighborhood manager about what the city of Detroit is doing.
Just to clarify, so the other 42 communities, are you doing all of them and it comes out of each of our budgets? Is that what you're saying?
That's what we're proposing, yeah, as a kind of.
Okay, and it would only be about 15,000 residents. And do we have a cost that do you kind of know the roundabout
Yes,
cost? to
roughly $6,000.
our budget? 6,000? Okay. Thank you.
And those of us who are already doing newsletters scheduled, you can just put that in your newsletter if we don't mind, if you already have a newsletter that's scheduled to go out.
That you want these out by?
Well, honestly, they're accepting results all summer. So initially, we're thinking if we can maybe wrap it up by the end of July.
So we would need that newsletter out
In July,
Like
hopefully, yeah.
as soon as possible. Okay. Thank you.
And as often as possible, whatever way you communicate with your constituents, with everyone, if you can include reminders. We've got the social media content, we've got newsletter content. literally any way. And if there's a way that we didn't think of to include, we'd be happy to put it together.
Commissioner Morecki, then Commissioner Clark-Holman.
Thank you for recognizing me again. So I take it then if we can all do this to anyone, it's the same scan, whatever they call it. So how are they identifying themselves? Through zip code when they go take that survey? How do you know where they're at?
Information will remain confidential, and then it's by census tract that they're actually, literally by block and by census tract, that they'll actually put the surveys together. The one thing that they're careful about is to maintain confidentiality of any individual resident. So they will not provide information that would allow for individual identification.
Right, but so you're saying the address would kind of identify where they're at? I mean, because if you're looking at a map, you have to see where all these people are.
They've got a sophisticated GIS system, which they'll be using, and they have used very successfully in the other communities, other counties in Michigan that they have done this. If you're interested, they'll probably give a demo at the office hours that are going to be coming up, or we could arrange, if anyone's interested, happy to show you. I have access to the map as it stands now and can show you how all that works.
All right, yeah, I'd like to see that because I'm kind of confused on how you will track all these people. Thank you.
Commissioner Clark-Holman.
Them have all the information? Our PR guy, our newsletter guy, does he have the information that?
Yeah, in fact, they did the sample template postcards, and he's got other material for newsletters. He's going to be doing a social media content that you can put on your own Facebook pages and.
Well, he has what we need to go in our newsletter.
Correct. Yes.
If you do electronic newsletters, you can send that out as well. Have that content on your, yep. So we can get that from Tim for,
Oh, you mean that? Oh,
for
okay.
e-newsletter. If you send out electronic newsletters, you can get that information from Jim as well. All right. Thank you, gentlemen,
Thank you.
so much. We look
I look-
forward to this project.
Look forward to partnering with Tim on this and working together with the commission. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, David. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Tim. Look forward to getting some good data so that we can make sure that all of Wayne County is wired for broadband. Thank you. Next item, Madam Clerk.
We're moving to page 2 of the agenda, unfinished business. There's one item listed, an ordinance to amend chapter 29 of the Wayne County Code of Ordinances, being enrolled ordinance number 89-951.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Kinlock.
move to open public hearing.
Okay, at our last meeting, we had the first reading, which was on June 6th. This is the second reading today, as well as a public hearing. It's been moved by Commissioner Kinlock, supported by Commissioner Scott. Commissioner Dobb, to open public hearing. All in favor of opening public hearing, please vote. Okay. Motion passes to open public hearing. Anyone wish to speak on this topic from the public? Anyone from the public, and this has been put into publications. Anyone wish to speak on this ordinance from the public? Anyone wishing to speak on this from the public? And we've unmuted the lines. Is there a motion to close public hearing?
Madam Chair, move to close public hearing.
There's support? Supported by Commissioner Morecki to close public hearing. I'll entertain a motion. I'm sorry. Let me vote. This is the vote to close the public hearing. Right? Public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion for approval of the item, Commissioner Kinlock? Been moved by Commissioner Kinlock, supported by Commissioner Baker McCormick. Any discussion on this item from commissioners? Discussion? Board is not ready for discussion, but if you raise your hand, Commissioner Basham?
I'm pushing a button, but it's not working. Technology is great. I certainly appreciate the efforts of the administration and our commission council, and I think we've come a long ways in a short amount of time.
Not this one.
Okay.
This is not the reorg plan.
I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Pass.
Call you when we get to the reorg plan, which will be coming up shortly. Hearing no discussion, the board is not recognizing discussion, so if you do have a discussion, please raise your hand. Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
We're moving to offering of all petitions, ordinances, resolutions, and presentations. There is one item listed on the agenda, a resolution by Commissioner Bell declaring June 2023 as National Gun Violence Awareness Month.
Okay, so as we unfortunately see throughout the country, gun violence seems to be at an all-time high. We want to make sure that we just continue to talk about what it means to families when someone is taken from them through gun violence. We've had countless amounts of mass shootings, just neighborhood shootings, domestic violence shootings. Gun violence is really taking a toll on this country. So we just want to make sure that we make it aware, especially our young people, the dangers, how they'll ruin someone's life and their own lives when they partake in gun violence. So this is a resolution again, declaring June as National Gun Violence Awareness Month. I think the color is orange. So if you have any activities planned in your districts for this month, that would be awesome. Just again, to bring awareness to the devastation of gun violence it has on our community. Is there a motion? Well, I guess I'll move. Can I move it? Okay, I can move it. I'm going to move that and supported by Commissioner Clemente went one to move it, so I'll let her be the second. Any discussion? I'm sorry. Any discussion on the resolution? Open up the co-sponsors after we vote. Please vote for the resolution.
Motion carries.
Okay, when the board is ready, we'll open it up for co-sponsors. Let us know when the board is ready.
The board is now open for co-sponsors. Co-sponsors duly noted.
All right, thank you so much. Next item, please.
We are moving to reports from committees. Report A is from the Special Committee on the Criminal Justice Complex. There are two items listed.
Commissioner Anderson? Of the Special Committee on Criminal Justice, you have two receive and file items.
Sorry, my mic wasn't on. I would just move those two items to be received by the full commission.
It's been moved and supported by Vice Chair Pro Tem Baydoun. Any discussion on the two receive and file items? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Next item.
We're moving to report B from the Committee on Seniors and Veterans Affairs. There are two items listed on pages 2 and 3 of the agenda.
Commissioner Scott?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have two items. One is with Sun Valley Foods and the second one is with the Senior Alliance.
Been moved by Commissioner Scott, supported by Commissioner Jesus. Any discussion on the senior report? Any discussion on this report? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Next item.
We're moving to report C on page 3 of the agenda. There's one item listed.
Commissioner Basham?
I'd like to move the one item to receive and file, Madam Chair.
Moved by Commissioner Basham, supported by Commissioner Dobb. Any discussion on the receive and file letter from Plant Moran on the audit committee? Please vote.
Motion carries.
Next item.
We're on report D from the Committee on Public Safety, Judiciary, and Homeland Security. There are 3 items listed.
Commissioner Clark Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Clark Coleman, supported by Commissioner Scott. Items, receive and file 1, approved 2 and 3 on public safety. Any discussion on these items? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Next item, please.
We're on report E from the Committee on Government Operations. There are 2 items listed.
Commissioner Dobb.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move items 1 and 2 for approval.
Moved by Commissioner Dobb, supported by Commissioner Basham. Items 1 and 2 on the government operations report. Any discussion on the 2 items on this report? Discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
So much. Next item.
We're moving to report F from the Committee of the Whole. There's 1 item listed.
This is the item of the reorganization plan that we had at Committee of the Whole. It was forwarded without recommendation due to some conversation that needed to be had between the council and the administration and commissioners' concerns. I am happy to report that the concerns and issues that commissioners had were addressed. One was pertaining to ordinances to identify the departments. We've done agenda. Number 2 was the budget implications on how some of these positions would affect our budget. That was addressed as well as approval of division directors. With that being stated, I want to thank our council, thank Ms. Allen for their hard work and diligence and coming together on compromises. It was give and take on several items, but we want to thank everyone's hard work to get this to us today and addressing the concerns that commissioners had. With that, I'll entertain a motion, and I see we have a motion by Commissioner Kinlock, supported by Vice Chair Baydoun, and discussion, Commissioner Basham.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate all the hard work from Janelle and the administration, our commission council, and I think we came a long ways. So I certainly appreciate that. For some reason, actually, I've got some reasons. I still don't think we're there yet, and I understand this will probably pass, but quite frankly, I'll be a no vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any additional discussion from commissioners on this item? And this is the motion will be as amended for the record. It'll be reorg plan as amended. Additional discussion on reorganization plan? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
So much. All right, let's go to the addenda.
We are mo-
And go ahead and
We are
top
moving to
addenda.
the addenda, offering of all petitions, ordinances, resolutions, and presentations. There are 8 items listed.
Okay, these are the 8 items here for first reading. Again, these are the ordinances that correspond with the reorg plan. When we meet again, that'll be second reading and for adoption. Is there a motion to move all of these items 1 through 9 for first reading? Moved by Kenlock, supported by Pro Tem, I'm sorry, that's the same one? Vice Chair Pro Tem Baydoun. I'm sorry. That's it. I'm sorry. 2 through 9. I said 1 through 9. And we're going to pass those for the day. And again, it's moved by Vice Chair Pro Tem Baydoun, supported by Commissioner Baker McCormick. Commissioner Scott? No, okay. All right. Move to pass for the day 2 through 9, which are the corresponding ordinances to the reorg plan. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Next item?
We will remain on the addenda to report G from the Committee on Economic Development. There are 5 items listed.
Commissioner Hayes?
Thank you, Madam the Chair. I move to receive and file item 1 and 2 and for approval 3, 4, and 5.
Moved by Commissioner Hayes, supported by Commissioner Baydoun. Receive and file 2 items and approve 3 through 5. Any discussion on the economic development report? Any discussion on the economic development report? Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I could ask the Economic Development Director to come forward to the mic, I just wanted to cover something that we discussed in the Economic Development Committee. And I just wondered if, for the record, if you just let us know that you're going to provide a report back, what steps are being taken for those that are not paying their lease for their leases. And we've got a number for those other commissioners that might have looked at it closely. There's a pretty surprising number of tenants that in this building that are behind on their the rent considerably. And just wondered if you would provide us a report back on that within a month.
Press your light, please, at the bottom. Yep, there you go.
And I should have said, Madam Chair, excuse me, I should have said steps that are going to be taken.
Good morning, everybody. Director Hassan Sheikh, Director of Economic Development. You would think I would get used to the button by now, but still working through that. No, Commissioner Anderson, I appreciate you asking the question and bringing me forth. As we've inherited this economic development, department, and I'm coming in, one of the things we've been doing, as we've told you numerous times, is turning over every stone, going through every single item within the department. One of those items within our purview is exactly as you said, within the management of the building and our tenants, and looking at the delinquencies. And we've already started those conversations with our management team. Shannon Hagg from their team and I have been having numerous conversations on this. We will be looking forth at all the delinquencies and putting forth an action plan in regards to what the next steps and next items will be. We'll definitely be more than happy to bring that back to you all and discuss that with you once we line those items up. But those conversations have already begun, have started, and we're on the same page with that. Absolutely.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Baker McCormick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know this is not on the agenda today, but is there going to be an update on the workforce development training program that we approved? What was it? 4 or 5 months ago?
So you're talking about the program in which we're going to be working with SEMCA.
Yes.
And that was approved in batch 1. And we're more than happy to provide you an update as we are now going back into the conversations in regards to our batch 3 potentially. We're more than happy to bring that back forth to you and bring you an update for batch 1 and batch 2 as well. Part of what we're doing is doing an audit in terms of reaching back out to the communities that were with batch 1 and batch 2, seeing what their progress has been so we can provide that to the commission as well in regards to whether or not they're staying within their timelines and anything that you guys may have questions upon that you guys approved in batch 1 and batch 2.
Yes, because I'm really interested in
Absolutely.
how that program is progressing and
Absolutely.
the contractors that are involved in it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That was a $50 million contract, so that will probably go to a committee of the whole. I think all of us want to know how that's progressing. So we'll schedule that in the next few weeks for committee of the whole. Okay.
We're working on those numbers right now as we're doing audits all the way through. So that will be provided to you all within our report. And we want to make sure that you guys get the most recent updates with everything. So as soon as we have everything worked out, we'll be making sure that we're in front of you as soon as possible. As I said numerous times, one thing that I pride myself on is transparency and communication. So as soon as we get everything lined up, you guys will be in the know.
Thank you. Commissioner Marecki.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since you brought up the words batch 3, when do you think we're going to see that?
So as you all know, there was a hiatus in our conversations internally in terms of moving forward in batch 3 due to the process in which we brought everything forth with the revenue replacement and all that. We have just picked back up in terms of our internal conversations. We hope to work through this internal process and hope to have something in front of you as soon as possible. But we will be working through that, and we've already picked back up in regards to our conversations and looking at the projects and how we're going to go forth on that. So
As soon as possible?
as soon as possible. Absolutely.
Thank you. Commissioner Basham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You use the term doing an audit. Are you going by Gatsby? Or are you just looking at stuff and using that audit term as a buzzword?
For us, we're still figuring out what that process will look like. But as of right now, from my perspective, when I say audit, it's going back and looking through each of the projects, making sure we're going back and having communication with each of the communities, and from there deciphering if there needs to be additional steps taken.
Not a national standard that you're doing. You're doing looking at stuff.
Sorry, I couldn't.
Never mind.
I apologize. Couldn't
It's
hear.
not the national audit standards that we would do a professional audit by. You're just looking at your
Yes,
documents in
yes.
the past. Okay. Any additional questions on the economic development report? Okay, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
We're on Report H from the Committee on Public Services. There are 17 items listed.
Commissioner Marecki.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move for approval to receive and file items number 1 and approve items 2 through 17, with Commissioner Hados being the maker of the motions for 6, 12, 13, and 15.
Moved by Commissioner Marecki, supported by Vice Chair Pro Tem Baydoun. I'll just say that on item number 1, everyone, please make sure you get out to your constituents. That 1888 road crew number is very important when when people have concerns about road issues, that they receive that so that we can document what those concerns are coming from. Commissioner Dobbs, you had your hand up?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could I be the maker of the motion for item number 3?
Sure.
Thank you.
Any discussion on the public services report? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries. And I have Commissioner Hattis as the maker of the motion on 6, 12, 13, and 15. Commissioner Dobb is the maker of the motion on item number 3.
Thank you. Next item.
We're moving to report I from the Committee on Ways and Means. There are 5 items listed.
Commissioner Kinlock.
Yes, Madam Chair, I move to approve items 1 through 5, with number 5 being the resolution levying the operating millage upon the summer tax rolls.
Okay. Any discussion on the Ways and Means report? Discussion on Ways and Means? Okay, please vote.
Motion carries.
Item.
We're moving to report J from the Committee on Health and Human Services. There are 13 items listed.
Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to receive and file item number 1 and to move approval item 2 through 13.
There's support, supported by Commissioner Baidoon. And I have a question on item number 2. I know someone from the administration here. I saw Dr. El Sayed. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Dr. Abdul El Sayed, Director, Health, Human, and Veteran Services.
Number 2 is the Just Air Solutions, 2.1 million professional service for the air quality. Can you discuss that, please?
Yes. Stepping all the way back, one of the big commitments that CEO Evans had made, given that we're coming out of this COVID pandemic, is to make quite an investment in terms of resiliency and health at baseline. All of the things that unfortunately we often take for granted that too many in our communities don't have, whether it's clean air, or access to a health center, or a respectful, engaging clinician in the setting of pregnancy. These are the kinds of projects that we're hoping to kick off. And the one up for discussion today is one that I think is extremely timely, considering just last week we were in the grips of some of the worst air quality in Michigan history, some of the worst air quality in the country. And for folks who have not been exposed to that kind of air quality, they recognized exactly what that can mean for a life, the things that you take for granted, the risk that you run simply to get outside your home, to go take a run, ride a bike, play outside. And for too many in our communities, that is the baseline under which they live. This project up for consideration today is about trying to understand exactly what air quality we do experience in different parts of our county, and then providing that information in real time to families to enable them to do something about it. What we're proposing here is working with Just Air to put up 100 fixed point air monitors. These would be on things like street lights, providing us information in real time that then would be fed back to the public in 2 forms. One would be an online dashboard, but the second would be an SMS-enabled platform that could indicate to somebody if their air quality was an issue. On top of those 100 fixed point air monitors, we're also proposing 500 mobile air monitors that would clip on to things like backpacks. And we're proposing to clip them onto the backpack specifically of children with asthma. They would also come with what's called a Bluetooth dot, a little device that you can put onto an inhaler so that every time a child uses their inhaler, it would send information out to the cloud that was collecting data about objective air quality from their monitors and the fixed point monitors that exist out in the community. Collectively, and this is what Just Air specializes in, it would allow us to learn the fingerprint of asthma exacerbations in our county and get information in real time to families with children with asthma ahead of when they started to wheeze and had to use that rescue inhaler. This is a project that builds on a lot of the work that Just Air has been doing in communities, both in Michigan, in the city of Detroit, in Kalamazoo, and in the city of Dearborn. and also work that they're doing in other states. But also it builds on this in a way that is really quite innovative. This would be a leading edge use of the available technology and computational capacity that currently exists. And we're really excited at the potential to roll this out to our families and our residents here in the county.
Great, I think that's a very innovative program. Question, once we get that data, are we going to do something proactively with it, such as ding the polluters, or what the end result of getting the data?
Yeah, I really appreciate your question, Commissioner Bell, and it demonstrates an insight into how we could leverage this data. In the shortest term, we want to get real-time information to families who can do something. Let's say you have a child with asthma, call him Tommy, and Tommy has bad enough asthma that if Tommy were to spend too much time outside on a particularly bad air day, they'd risk exacerbation, which could wind up leading Tommy to an emergency room or worse. We'd love to be able to text Tommy's mom or dad in real time to say, today might not be the day that Tommy should go out and play ball with his friends, right? Today's the day that Tommy should stay indoors. So that's one real-time intervention that really can get ahead of exacerbation and do something imminently. But the bigger picture here is what we can do also in the meso in the long term. And in the midterm, we know we have, unfortunately, the air quality in our communities is affected by the density of pollution from particularly large emitters. And while the state of Michigan does collect that data, they are bound to collect very particular data. And what we would like to do is to be able to collect data in broader, in a shorter time span and in broader density, such that when these emitters will apply for new permits and new licenses, that we can leverage the power of our county, the power of this commission, of the CEO, of the health officer, to hold them accountable as they start making claims about the safety and security of their operation. And then in the longest term, I really hope that this data can be used by bodies like this one or the state legislature to start passing policy that would hold those polluters accountable, given what we're understanding and the delta between how they say they're operating and how they're actually operating.
Great, thank you for that. I'll have a few questions. Commissioner Basham?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I appreciate your efforts, except this is a comparable source contract and the flags go up when I see comparable source. Why wouldn't you bid it out?
For a couple of reasons. My understanding per reading of the ordinance is that comparable and sole source contracts are specific for purposes when you have a vendor that can uniquely provide a resource in a community and can take advantage of already existing services that are provided that would allow the sum to be greater than the parts. So in this case, you're talking about a vendor who uniquely, as far as my understanding of the space, uniquely offers this service and who's already operating in Wayne County such that the data that we collect can piggyback off of what's already being collected in 2 of our communities to make the sum greater than the parts.
So in my opinion, that's wrong, because a comparable source, if you want certain criteria, which I can appreciate, and you let a contract out and only one company responded to it with all those qualifications, I personally am okay with it. But when you make the decision, instead of this body making the decision, regardless of who you are in the department, then I have a problem with it. That's number one. And then number 2 is like I don't know if we're aware that the feds already have those monitors out in Wayne County. And what are we doing about it? The feds have the monitors out. They've been out for many, many years. If you look at heavy industry and look at one of the worst polluters that we have in Wayne County is semi-trucks. If you look at when they take off with them old diesel engines, black smoke for half a block before they shift gears. And nobody's even talking about that. That's your big polluters. And quite frankly, when you register your little car, you got to do it every year. They register those trucks once in a lifetime. Once in a lifetime. Wrong. We have the heaviest truck weight limits of any state in the country. Wrong. And we have a state legislature with one party now controlling all 3 branches. We should be addressing that one party now that's talking about change. Then let them do something about it. And so quite frankly, it's not, you don't need monitors when you can see it with your own eyes. And the worst areas of pollution, I can tell you right now, before you even put the monitors up, you know, Delray community close to the Ambassador Bridge, where all these trucking companies are, where the freeways are, the poorest part of Detroit, and also out county is where most of the pollution is and where the industry is. And what have we done about it? I don't need somebody to tell me that the speed limit's 55 and we've been going past the speed limit for many, many years. You know, it's nice to have the data, but once you get the data, this is a federal issue and a state issue, and the county needs to be pushing and pulling with our lobbyists to straighten the state out and to straighten the feds out.
I will never disagree with you that we need.
Would you write that down? He never disagreed with me. Okay, I'm done.
About the question about whether or not we ought to be holding polluters accountable. What I will say is that there are many limitations to both the federal and the state efforts at enforcement that do start with limited collection of data and where data tends to be collected. The responsibility of EGLE and or the EPA is to collect baseline data. They do not necessarily concentrate their monitoring efforts in communities that are hardest hit and most affected. Second, they are relatively limited in terms of the kind of specificity, in terms of geographic specificity that they can collect, because they just don't have as many monitors as we will produce. And then third, there is no capacity for the federal government or the state government to in real time communicate to public about the risks that folks face. So I think that this project offers the capacity to intervene above and beyond what the state and the federal government do, because you very accurately describe the baseline, and you're right, nothing gets done. And so the question becomes, should we then assent to the status quo where nothing gets done? Or should we invest in our own capacity to create our own source of data where we can concentrate those data resources in communities that are hardest hit with the capacity to intervene in real time among families? So I would argue that we should probably do the latter.
Thank you, Doctor. We have a list of speakers.
Just like to do a follow-up
Sure,
on that.
follow-up question, and then I'll go to Commissioner Dobb.
Okay, my follow-up is to our commission counsel. Is it right for any director of any department to render a $2 million comparable source contract without going through the county legislative body, which would be this commission?
Through the chair to this honorable body, there is a provision in the procurement ordinance that was adopted by this body that allows for comparable source procurements of a certain value. Those contracts require commission approval. This contract is before the commission for approval based on this body's ordinance. It's my understanding they have not begun work. And so it is up to this body whether or not to actually enter into this contract, and that'll be based on your vote today.
Thank you, Council. Commissioner Dobb?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, I think my main question has been answered, but can you expand a little bit more on the what this will do in difference to, or how this will be different than the data that we already have? And I think you pretty much covered it. It'll be more, you'll drill down a little bit more, and you will deliver that information in real time. So you mentioned the online dashboard and an SMS platform. Is that like text alerts to people so people can sign up for that? Will that be through an app?
They would literally text.
Okay.
And they would be registered similar to, you know, any opt-in, opt-out list. I'm sure everybody here's had stop to text or stop to quit. They can opt in by texting, right, their information, basically their zip code, to a platform, and then they'll get real-time data when air quality is of a certain level in real time. So when we see that data, we'll have real-time mapping. And folks who, let's say, you're talking about 48217, given that it is the most polluted zip code in the entire state, folks in 48217 will get real-time alerts when air quality is poor. And then beyond that, what we're hoping to build out is to understand what is the most effective means of intervention. What is it that you actually can tell somebody that's going to get them to take action? And that's work that we're hoping to develop and then hoping to get out to folks.
Okay, so currently with the data that we do have, we would not be able to tell people in real time what, when an alert needs to go out.
In theory, you could. You would have to scrape data from the state and the federal government. The other problem with that is that the density of air monitoring that currently exists doesn't give you the fine calibers that you'd like to have to really pinpoint places with the worst air quality. You know, our experience last week was not the common experience where you have just a massive air shed that hits us from another place. It's that you have some communities that tend to have or live downstream of an air shed that's polluted by some polluter, and that you have, you know, within a half an hour or an hour, right, a situation where there's a release and now folks are living under substantially poor air quality. So it's that micro targeting that that this project enables us.
I do think that this is really important, and I know that we've had conversations about the intersections with public health and the sustainability issues that we're facing now, you know, with polluters and the climate issues, wildfires and such, and also the economic development impacts that these issues will have upon our population. So I think that's all I had. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, just to that point,
To that
I
point, Commissioner
wanted to
McCormick?
mention that we drill down in all of these questions that the commissioners are asking today in our committee. But one of the things that came out that I think most of us agreed upon is that the companies that pollute know that we are watching, we are testing. And I think that's a key to ensuring that they and we have monitored the levels, and we can then get those levels to them to reduce the pollution in, you know, in Wayne County. So that was one of the things we really that really came out of committee. So
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Marecki?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, and to Monique's point, I think we talked about this for an hour.
yes.
So, and there were a lot of questions, and we talked about the comparable source, and this company works in 5 different states, based out of Wayne County. So and nobody else is doing this that you're aware of. So we were comfortable with that. I had a lot of questions in my mind going into this. I'm still on the fence with a few of the goals in this, but I'm going to vote for it. But my question through the chair to Commission Council, the committee asked for an ongoing report of the results with this. Would this be something to put into the budget instructions for this year's budget for this kind of report, or?
Through the chair, that is an option, or it could be placed in the resolution for the actual item that's being approved today.
Okay, I would like to add that, if that's all right, that we get reports so we can see how effective this is and what's going on for the future.
So we'll add to the resolution, resolve that the department, that the administration will provide semi-annual reports regarding the results from this contract. This project, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kinlock.
Thank you. So have you all identified preliminarily where these monitors will occur, or be placed? We know that we have state, federal monitors, I believe you said. Will they be in similar, they may be, it would make sense to be in similar locations, but also access to the data. I know we just mentioned about having reports brought to the commission, but you also stated the access to this information in real time. Will there be a dashboard that the commission would have access to along with the administration? Because this is information that impact our constituents as well. So access to this information as quickly and readily as possible to us would be important. So, those are my questions as it relates to where those monitors will be located. I know I have a lot of distress environmental parts of my district, and Commissioner Clemente and all of us do. And so just it's important to have this information, and I do, this is absolutely necessary for us to get this information.
Yeah, I really appreciate the question and the need that's animating the question. The dashboards that we would put out would be for not just the administration, not just commission, but for the public.
Thank you.
And we want them to have at their fingertips real-time information. And we also know that not all of our public can just access a website. And that's why the SMS platform is so critical, because it's not enough to have a quandary about whether or not the air quality is good and then go to a website. We want you to be able to do that. But we'd also like you to be able to get that real-time information delivered to you before you ever have to ask the question, right? So that's the answer to the first question. The other question is, in terms of where we put these monitors, there are 3 features that are going to drive our process. The first is, where is the objective air quality the worst? The second is, where is the subjective consequence of poor air quality the worst? And then the third is, where is community asking us to be measuring air quality? And so we're going to put together, right, take those 2 big pieces of data, which we can analyze, right? Look at where do you have bad air quality driving bad air quality outcomes and really concentrate there. And then going deeper and asking community groups, all right, so where do you see this coming from subjectively, right? And can we then target to be collecting data there?
So these monitors could potentially move around where you put the placement of them.
You could. You wouldn't want to necessarily move them around simply because it changes the inference about what you're finding, right? Because now you're
For a
saying.
period.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Haydes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question and concern, from past experience, 15 years ago, we have enormous explosion in chemical plant. It was like 12, 13 chemical burning together go up in the air. And my disappointment was there was no prepared system by the state or the local or the federal to deal with issue like this. The fire department, they have certain sniffer to the air, but it does not detect the highly poisoned air. And the sad story is the only airplane who have that capacity, it's in Texas. To get to Michigan by then, if the air is poisonous, half of the city would be dead. So my question here today is, those monitor have a certain capacity about the air pollution, or they detect any level of poisoned air or not? The second question is, if we have those monitor, we have the ability to deal if we have a massive air poisons? Is the federal and the state enhance their preparation to the system and have more equipment centrally located to respond to those issues? There are too many questions on my mind, but I like to know, in the worst case scenario, by the state or federal or the local, how we deal with pollution that may be killer.
I appreciate the question. Let me handle the second part first, and I'll hand it over to Darren to talk specifically about the sensitivity of the monitors. The incident that you're highlighting is like the perfect test case. It's that state and federal air monitors are so few and far between that you sometimes miss these very local situations. Now, in theory, right, you could have as many monitors as you wanted and you might miss something. But the chances of catching that get a lot higher when we've dispersed 100 fixed point monitors and 500 mobile monitors that we're going to catch something like that. And it's exactly that data that we can use in real time to start coordinating response, to start taking that information out to the state and federal government and petitioning. Bigger picture, I think to yours and the excellent point brought up by Commissioner Basham, we don't do a good enough job enforcing against poor air quality in this state and in this country. And part of creating that change is at least identifying that there's a problem. Now, it may be the case that, you know, if you have an alarm going off long enough, people stop paying attention to it. But our job is not just to start collecting this data, but to start telling the story of this data. This is what we found. This is how it's changed. This is what happened here. This is how it mapped to the consequences for kids in our local community. When you do that, right, it gives bodies like this one, it gives folks in the administration, it gives the state legislature, it gives federal authorities to step up and pay attention. And we think that that's really critical. Now, are these air monitors going to all of a sudden take all the bad air out of the air? No, they won't. But is this the right step in drawing attention to the issue and in addressing what we can do in real time to protect folks, while at the same time giving folks like you the resources that you need to be able to go out there and pound the pavement on this issue? I think it does. And I think that's a great place for us to start, considering that at the end of the day, a lot of folks will tell us, well, as local government, you don't have a stake in this, except for there are 1.8 million people who live in this county who deserve a lot better than they've gotten. And so the question we're asking is, as public servants in this county, what is the right step for us to take to start doing some of that? Do you want to talk specifically to sensitivity of air monitors?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everybody. I'm Darren Riley, founder and CEO of Just Air. Speaking to the sensitivity of the monitors do track VOCs. VOCs, some of the gases that you are referencing, cancerous gases, methane, et cetera, under that category. These monitors be able to detect that in real time. And so what's really important about this project, I think to your point, you see what happened in East Palestine and Ohio. We're talking about time is of the essence. So the closer you are to a set event, a unusual event, but a very dangerous event, the quicker you have information to know what you have to do to protect yourself, the more time and opportunity you have to save your life or add years to your life. And so I think with the sensitivity of the monitors, the granularity of the data and what we are measuring, we will be able to address the concerns you have. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm thankful for you being here, sir, founder of the organization. It's great to get the information directly from the source. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your innovative devices to help with air quality. We appreciate you being here. Were you all set, Commissioner?
Yeah, my final question is, in the worst scenario, as we see, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. The worst, if we have certain situation in large area, we know we can't handle it by ourselves. We need the state and the federal. Experience in the past, the state and the federal fail us from that experience. So there anything in your effort now to put those monitor is to see where the federal and the state be, if we need them, it doesn't take a week to respond, would be too late because it happened in the past. And I'm worried about that. So I'd like to know from you if there any working together with the state and the federal and the system, it's better than what it used to be.
Yeah, Commissioner, I appreciate the question. One of the biggest challenges to the government work that is intended to respond to emergencies, especially uncommon emergencies like we see in public health. If you're a firefighter, there are fires all the time, right? You know that there are going to be a certain number of fires, you respond to them, and you build a system around that. In public health, you can go months, you can go years with no big issue, and then all of a sudden there is a massive challenge that you have to deal with, as we just experienced with the pandemic. But even before that, that this department, before I was ever here, had to deal with at Flat Rock, for example. The most important thing you can do in intergovernmental engagement to command a response is to offer objective evidence that there's a problem. Because sometimes you'll step up and say, as a local health officer, as a health department, we think there's a problem here. And then someone at the state or the federal government will say, oh yeah, prove it to us. With these kinds of air monitors, we can put numbers on the level of pollutants in the air in a pretty micro-targeted way in the exact kind of circumstance like you talked about in Romulus. And that is really, really powerful. Because the other part of it is that this is an objective system that is truly 100% transparent. We're setting up a dashboard that's out there. So you can also imagine that anybody who is interested in understanding what happened can go to that dashboard and say, oh, at this time, this is what the level of VOCs look like in the air in this particular place in Wayne County. And that triggers outside engagement, the press paying attention, et cetera. So the situation that you are talking about, right, in the situation you raised in Romulus is actually a perfect example of exactly how something like this can take and facilitate the kind of intergovernmental engagement on an issue that can deliver resources. And then the final question I think that really this comes down to is, are we better without a system like this in Wayne County or better with a system like this? And I think categorically better with a system like this, because even if, right, we put up 100 and we might miss something, the chances that we catch it go up substantially because we're monitoring.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Last question we have is from Vice Chair Pro Tem Baydun.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me just say this. I wholeheartedly agree with my colleague, Commissioner Basham, on the damage that the trucks are causing throughout Wayne County in terms of pollution, impounding on the pavements and the roads. But that's another issue that we have to tackle, Commissioner Basham, and I agree with you 100%. But on this issue of installing these monitors, to improve the quality of life for so many people in Wayne County. I totally agree with this, Dr. Abdul Sayed. I represent the city of Dearborn, where the south end of Dearborn is the most probably polluted area in the state of Michigan with the highest asthma rate. And many people die of cancer. And we have a lot of industries that are causing this pollution. Yeah, do I want to see the kids in Salina School walking in with their backpacks and having the monitor on their backpacks, the mobile ones? It's a sad scene to say the least, but at least they will have a little bit of security. Their family can make a decision whether these children should be playing outside or not. Dr. Abdul Sayed, one of the questions that I have, and I hope you guys can implement this, if we're going to inform the residents, for example, like Southwest Detroit and the south end of Dearborn, I hope we can add sending the messages in both Arabic and Spanish to communicate with the residents. But again, I thank Wayne County for installing this monitoring system. I know the city of Dearborn has a similar system in place, and it's really a sad reality that we have to go through this to improve the quality of life for residents in Wayne County. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. Last question I see from Commissioner Killeen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do we know how many and where they're located of the state's air quality monitoring here in the county? We know where all of those are. There was a time in Wayne County that we had a Department of the Environment. It went away in a reorg plan maybe 8-10 years ago. But we also had an agreement with the state of Michigan that Wayne County would do the air quality monitoring on behalf of the state. And just like in committee, I'm going to say we should look at that, especially with the deployment of these, and have more, to me, a one single system that's more integrated. But would you say this proposal is for 100 fixed locations and 500 mobile? Can you just say a couple of more words about how those mobile monitors are going to be spread out through the county?
Just a couple words.
We'd like to put them on the most vulnerable youths And we'll be working with a network of providers to identify who those are and make sure that they are population representative, live in all parts of the county, but also on particularly sensitive, vulnerable kids.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this good discussion. I think, again, it's an innovative, visionary tactic that we're doing to combat pollution, especially for the health of our children. So thank you both for coming and speaking to this. There was a motion and a second. Any additional discussion on the Health and Human Services report? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. Next item. We'll stay here on the addenda.
Okay. We're moving to page 15 of the addenda, new business. There are 4 items listed.
Vice Chair Palomero.
Move approval of the 4 items. Support.
Moved and support of the 4 items under new business. The first one is a zoo appointment, reappointment of Mario Morrow to the zoo. The second one is the retroactive appointment to Scott Vandermergel to the Director of Assessment and Equalization. The third is priority 1 is to purchase uniforms for the Sheriff's Office. And the fourth is accepting a $40,000 grant for the survey that we spoke about at the beginning of the meeting. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on any of those 4 items? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we have a 2-part for the testimony and resolutions on page 6 of the agenda, page 16 of the addenda.
So you want to go to
So however you
testimonials?
want to do that.
So we are moving to testimonial resolutions and certificates of appreciation. There are 3 items listed, 6 items listed on your agenda and 3 on your addenda.
There a motion moved by Commissioner Kinlock, supported by Commissioner Marecki, celebrating all of the wonderful new businesses and the graduations of our young people. Any discussion on the testimony resolutions and certificates of appreciations? Hearing none, please vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you. So that exhausts our addenda. So we're back on the agenda to upcoming meetings.
We're on page 6 of the agenda, upcoming meetings.
Okay, please note the upcoming meetings. Are there any changes to the meeting schedule, Madam Clerk?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Ways and Means will not be meeting on Tuesday, will be postponed.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other changes, Commissioner Marecki?
Thank you, Madam Chair. COPS next week will move from Tuesday, the 20th to Wednesday, the 21st at 9:30 a.m.
Noted. Commissioner Haydos?
I'm the chair, the Economic Development Committee meeting for next week will be postponed.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Scott? Thank you so much. Health and Human Services, that will be postponed as well. Okay, and the new schedule will come out from the clerk, so please note that when you see it to make sure that you are at the appropriate meeting at the appropriate time. Next item.
We are on page 7 of the agenda, memoriams. There are 5 names listed.
All right, are there any discussion or comments on the listed memoriams or any names to be added to that list? Hearing none, please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you so much. And again, let's keep the families of all that have lost someone, especially through gun violence, in our prayers. Next item.
Public comments.
Okay, is there anyone on Zoom who would like to provide public comments? Anyone on Zoom, if you can unmute Zoom? Anyone on Zoom who would like to provide public comments? Anyone on the telephone who would like to provide public comments? Telephone. Anyone on the telephone or Zoom for public comments? Anyone in chambers for public comments? Anyone like to speak in the chambers? And any emails for public comment?
No emails were received.
Right. Next item, please.
Reconsiderations.
There are none. Next item.
Remarks by members.
Are there any remarks by members? Commissioner Marecki.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to wish everyone a happy Father's Day this weekend.
Thank you, Commissioner Marecki. I'm not a father, but thank you for wishing the Father's Day greetings. Commissioner Kinlock.
Yes, Madam Chair, just want to wish everyone a happy Juneteenth. We'll be celebrating at the county on Monday, I believe.
Thank you. There are so many wonderful Juneteenth activities this weekend, starting pretty much yesterday. So if you have an opportunity to participate in those festivities in your communities, please do so. They are all over. I want to thank Commissioner Scott for her efforts at the state level to bring this to a statewide holiday, and President Biden for signing it into law as a federal holiday as well. I had an opportunity to see Ms. Opal Lee, which I'm sure Commissioner Scott's aware of, who pounded the pavement to make it a national holiday for many years. She's 96 years old. I'm not sure she must be from Texas, I would assume. Yeah, so she's from Texas, and she's 96, and she spoke at the White House yesterday in the first, hopefully annual Juneteenth event at the White House, and she said to all you youngins, and everyone was a youngin because she said, I'm 96, so that applies to everybody. She was just so happy to be there and to see her hard work come to fruition during her years still here on earth. That was an awesome celebration. So I want to thank everyone here locally who was responsible for making this a reality. Commissioner Scott?
Thank you so much. And yes, wishing everybody a great Juneteenth day. I'm just grateful that my colleagues in the Senate worked with me to make that happen early on, and now it's national.
Yes, amen.
That is just great. We have to start somewhere, and when we do that, then we can get the attention of all of them. So thank you. And in Hamtramck on Monday, we're having an all day, the community has pulled together a Juneteenth celebration.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. There's so many. My calendar is full all day, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday with awesome celebrations. So I can't wait to partake in many of those. So thank you, Commissioner Scott, for what
Thank
you've
you.
done
And
to get
also
that
happy
here.
Father's Day
Yes.
to all you fathers.
Happy Father's Day to all of our fathers who are here. Absolutely. Any additional remarks by members? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, and before we go, I'm sorry, we do have a 12:30 benefits and staffing meeting. Please come if you can, because Ms. Janelle